Hello, this is Gradye Parsons, and this is our continuing series on the Book of Order of the Presbyterian Church, looking at the foundations of polity. Today we're looking at section F3-0107, Church Power. That all church power, whether exercised by the body in general or in the way of representation by delegated authority, is only ministerial and declarative. That is to say that the Holy Scriptures are the only rule of faith and manners, and that no church adjudicatory ought to pretend to make laws to bind the conscience in virtue of their own authority, and that all decisions should be founded upon the revealed will of God. Now, though it may be easily admitted that all senates and councils may err through the frailty inseparable from humanity, yet there is a much greater danger from the upsert claim of making laws than from the right of judging upon laws that have already been made. In common to all who profess the gospel, although this right as necessity requires the present state be lodged with fallible men. We also find this reinforced. In fact, it's really the basis of this is in section 320 of the Scots Confession. As we do not rashly condemn what good men assembled together in general councils lawfully gathered had set before us, so we do not receive uncritically whatever has been declared to men under the name of general council, for it is plain that being human, some of them have manifestly erred, and in matters of great weight and judgment. So far as the councils confirm the decrees by the plain word of God, so far do we reverence and embrace them. But if men under the name of a council pretend to forge for us new articles of faith, or to make decisions contrary to the word of God, then we must utterly deny them as doctrines of the devils, drawing our souls in the voice of the one God to follow the doctrines and teachings of men. Now, as Presbyterians, we value, it's a high value, people coming together to discern the mind of Christ as to what they should do. I mean, we place it's one of the highest values and one of the most claimed core distinctions of who we are, that people come together to make decisions. Not one person making a decision, but people coming together as a group to make decisions, and coming together in the same place, in a committee room, or in a session room, or in a congregation, or in a Presbyterian meeting. People coming together to find out what it is together, what God is calling us to do, to listen to each other's opinions, and then to make some sort of decision. And even though we place that as one of the highest values of how we understand ourselves as Reformed people, at the same time we admit that it's not a flawless decision-making process, that we admit that councils may err, that people coming together making the best decision they thought they could make on the day with the facts that they had could still at the end of the day make a wrong decision. So there's a certain humility in all this. There's a certain sense that we are not perfect. We all know that. I certainly know that about myself. But it's a sense of humility that, yes, councils may err, committees may err, people may make a mistake based on some wrong information. They may make a mistake based on the fact that they got emotionally involved in the decision and weren't listening to each other. They may make a mistake because they simply weren't thinking what was best for everybody else, just what was for themselves. There's lots of ways this can happen, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we still think the best way to make decisions is to make them as a group. I teach elder training. I've done it all over this denomination to all kinds of people in all kinds of contexts, and part of what it takes to be an elder and to be an elder that really brings life to the church is a willingness to make decisions. So many sessions are really afraid to make a decision. They want to go to the congregation all the time for decisions. They want to avoid problems. They want to avoid troubles. They don't want to make any hard calls. But at the end of the day, one of, not all of, but one of the key functions of a session is to be willing to make a decision, a tough decision. And yes, you may make the wrong tough decision, but it's still at the end of the day, by accepting the mantle and accepting the role and responsibility of what it means to be an elder, a ruling elder and a teaching elder, you have accepted the fact that someday you're going to be called upon to make a tough decision. In these days of limited resources, we're having to make tough decisions about what programs can continue, what programs have to close. We have to make tough decisions about what part of the building gets fixed, what part of the building doesn't get fixed. We have to make tough decisions about how we allocate what we have. We always have to make tough decisions about people. People that we need to embrace, people we need to confront, people we need to comfort. All those are tough decisions, but part of that is at the heart of what it means to be a Presbyterian. And even though we may state right up front that our decisions may be wrong, it doesn't and shouldn't stop us from being afraid to make decisions, because that is part of the maturity and part of the growing in faith we have to do as a people. The early church, through the apostles, the early church, as they moved away from what Jesus being with them, moving towards being a church in the world, they had to make decisions from the very beginning, how to disperse the goods to the widows, had to make decisions how the gospel was going to be expanded beyond Jerusalem, what it was going to look like. They had to make decisions, and they made them by coming together to discern together. And those that coming together and discerning together is at the very heart of what it means for us to be us. So I want to challenge you to go back to your sessions, and sometime when you have some free time on your hands, and it could be a winter day or nothing else is going on, go back and see if you can get your session minutes and just leaf through them over the years and see some of the decisions they've had to make, some of the ones that which you would today would clearly not make, but you know when they were gathered around the table that day, they were doing the best that they can. And I think if you'll read that history, you'll find some humbling that will come to your own self as we seek to make decisions for our whole lives, decisions that impact people's lives, but decisions that still require us to be humble about the way we go about making our decisions. And we'll talk again soon. Thanks.